Today we're going to look at the 12 power words of testing. Larry Bell said it's hard to answer a question in any subject if you do not know what the question means or is asking. There are 12 words that stump students when it comes to taking a standardized test. It makes them feel intimidated or confused, which causes them to answer a question incorrectly, even though you may actually know the answer. Let's go over these 12 words and then some possible EOI questions that will have an implication of these words. The first word is trace. It's basically saying to list something in order, like 1, 2, or 3, or basically write down the steps or a sequence. The word may appear on a test this way: trace the steps of the water cycle. Pause the video and write this information about trace. The next word is analyze. It means to take something apart, to chunk it down into pieces, to decompose, looking deep into something because you broke it down. It may appear on a test in a couple of different ways. Like, for instance, which of the following analyzes the reasons for the American Revolution? Or it can actually just be inferred, meaning it's actually not saying it, but it means it. Like, what does the word mean in paragraph 2? The word mean means you're analyzing what the word is talking about. Again, pause the video and write down these notes about analyze. Infer. Infer can also be stated as inference. It means to look between the lines, figuring something out based upon what you're reading, to take out what you know plus some context clues. It's like being a detective because you're making a mental leap from information that they gave you. On a test, this word may be used in this way: how did Cinderella feel about her two sisters? Probably won't say exactly how Cinderella feels about her sisters, but from a conversation or a look at a scene, you can infer or possibly make a really great guess of what Cinderella feels. Again, pause the video and write down these pieces of information about infer. Evaluate. It means to judge something at its worth. To look at something, what's good about it, what's bad about it, and to basically say what's good or bad. It also means to sometimes find an answer when we're talking about math. So this word may appear on a test this way: evaluate the value of X in this equation. So sometimes it actually uses the word evaluate. Sometimes you're actually just using information inside of a question to make a judgment or to find an answer. Again, pause the video and write down this particular information about evaluate. Okay, formulate. It means to create, decide, come up with. Also building and constructing something, putting something all together in the form of a plan. This word can be used on the test in the following way: after reading the information, what is the opinion of the author? So again, what are you concluding, or what are you coming up with? What are you formulating after reading this information? Again, pause the video and write the pieces of information about formulate. Describe. Basically, it's saying to say something in your own words, but make sure you give all the details: the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how. That's about describing. I also like the picture where it says, to tell by saying or writing how something looks, feels, sounds, tastes like. So, one way it appears on the test is which statement describes the theme of the passage. So again, after I've looked at something, how would I describe it, or how would I put it all together based upon what I've read in my own words? Pause the video and write down these pieces of information. Support. It means to back up with details, to tell why. How do you know? Give the reasons. You gotta prove it. So on an actual test, it may say which of the following sentences best supports the main idea. So again, what evidence do you have that makes you say the conclusion? So supporting, backing it up. Again, pause the video and and write down these pieces of information. Explain. It means to tell about. Very similar to describe, but explaining your situation. The word may be used on a test by saying, based on this paragraph, explain how a food chain is organized. Again, pause the video and write down these pieces of information. Summarize. It means to retell key points, a shorter version, given basically the 30-second commercial, really, really quick, like just the facts, only the big points, and giving reasons why something happened. You may see it on a test like this, which sentence best summarizes the paragraph. It also could say summarize the passage in your own words. So again, really short and sweet. What is it saying? That is summarize. Pause the video and write down these pieces of information. Compare. Basically, it's looking at two things and determining what's alike, what's the same about it. Sometimes it says compare, on a test, it says compare addition and multiplication. How are they alike? Or how are the characters in the passage alike? Or sometimes you have to look at two pieces of information and compare it to come up with an answer. So anytime you're looking at two different things and you're trying to kind of come up with something that they're both saying, that's comparing. Again, pause the video and write down these pieces of information so that you'll have it for our activity. Okay, contrast. Unlike compare, where I'm looking at where they're like, contrast, I'm looking at where they're different, but I'm still looking at two different or multiple pieces of information. So, like again on the test, it may say, what is the contrast between prairies and deserts? So, what are there different about them as opposed to alike? Pause the video again and write down these key pieces of information. And last but not least, predict. It means to basically kind of take an educated guess, or looking at this piece of information or pieces of information, what would you think would happen next? Or looking into the future. So on a test, it may say predict how the story would end. Maybe it doesn't actually give you the ending, but it gives you a piece of information and you predict what will happen at the end. Or in the science class, predict what will be the result of the experiment. So pause the video, write down these pieces of information. Okay, now for our activity. Look at this passage or this actual example question and try and figure out which power word would apply. Which of the 12 would apply to this passage or this question? I hope you got it. Infer, infer. So again, the key kind of part in this is that it gave you a sentence and it said the author includes a sentence to show what? Show, well, you may have even said predict, and that's very close. But infer is very close to a prediction. So if you said prediction, you got credit too. But this one is much more of an infer. Looking at a sentence and what can I infer about it, as opposed to what will happen next with a prediction. Okay, here's our second one. Look at the question and which power word is it probably asking us? Yeah, you got it. It actually had the word exactly in the question. Describe, describe. So a lot of times the test will actually have the word in it. And again, describe means for us to say that who, when, where, what, how of a question. Here's two, or I'm sorry, three. Which one is the power word? Which of the 12 would apply to this question? Yeah, steps kind of gave this away. Trace. So remember, trace was the one where we are putting things in order. So the fact that it says these steps, in order was a big hint for this one. How about this fourth question? This one's a little harder. Which one of the power words do you think apply to this question? Formulate. Now, a lot of you may have actually put evaluate because that was one of the questions, statements that actually had a math related. And evaluate is very, very common in math, but formulate is as well. Notice that we had to actually come up with a construction of what this actual shape or this net will can come together to create what shape. So that's formulating something, formulating a conclusion. So not bad if you actually said evaluate too. And last but not least, which power word is this question? Compare, compare. Hopefully, you got that, noticing that you are looking at these two actual maps and looking at them to come up with a conclusion. You're comparing them to come up with what the answer could be. Not bad. The contrast would work here as well, but more comparison because I'm looking at these two, looking at where they are like, and helping me determine a conclusion towards it. Not bad today. Want to give credit to the Larry Bell Multicultural America and Smart Tech Technologies for creating this actual document. This was adapted with just passkey information for to help you understand Oklahoma pass standards. This concludes our general time. Have a great day.